I was told by Brian Duffy that I must be brief and practical. Being brief is not my strength, so I took the trouble of actually preparing so that I'd stay within my time frame. I want to talk with you about something remarkable that's happening in Charleston County with the criminal justice system. It's called the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and it's a breakthrough in planning, efficiency, and in fairness. And also, I want to talk to you about how your help is really needed right now, politically and personally, with the projects that we're undertaking. As you've guessed, I'm an attorney. I specialize in representing our low-income citizens who are charged with serious criminal offenses. This includes children, juveniles. I recruit and train and hire terrific young lawyers and staff, and we're assigned to over 4,000 new citizens every year. Over the years, we've been able to improve our services within our office. We've become client-centered, much more holistic. We've been able to encourage diversions away from prosecution and sentencing alternatives to our prosecutors and our judges. They've been very receptive. In fact, I'm here to report to you that as I watched in the 90s and the 2000s, Charleston County sent over 1,100 people to prison every year. This was a routine number. I'm happy to report that our number now is under 500 per year. In my view, I believe our courts do a pretty good job of separating the misguided from those that are truly dangerous. So you ask yourself, well, what's the problem? Why am I talking criminal justice today? And how do we do better? Well, the problem really focuses on the fact that criminal justice leadership and public attention is usually only limited to what goes on in a courtroom. Traditionally, there's no real follow-up in terms of what happens down the road. Who gets diverted? What happens then? What happens when someone is sent to prison? Courts hear cases, and literally it would be easy for my staff and I to spend all of our time simply worrying about the next case. So the question is, who really looks at what goes on? And the answer has been, really no one. So who asks the question, why do we arrest people on minor offenses? Who and what groups do we arrest? What happens when poor people who are not a threat to the community cannot make bond simply because they're poor? What happens when it takes over a year in Charleston County to get to trial to that person in the interval in the jail? And can we do something to make that more healthy? Who monitors prison and prison outcomes? Well, the good news for you today, something to be happy about and celebrate, is that there's been at least a partial breakthrough thanks to the MacArthur Foundation. We now have a voluntary association of the major stakeholders in our criminal justice system. That is our solicitor, the prosecutor, the defense bar, our office, and of course, judges, the law enforcement, all the big law enforcement agencies, as well as our service providers, the folks that do substance abuse and mental health counseling. This is exciting, and I will tell you that it's already borne in the last 5 years good fruit. We have markedly fewer arrests for minor conduct. Now tickets are issued. We have minor offenders are now referred for mental health treatment and counseling for substance abuse rather than jail. We have, for the first time in South Carolina history, a county where many of the poor have representation when their bonds are originally set. This is a breakthrough because that avoids that problem that I described earlier. So the question is, my time is running out. How can you help? Well, I have several asks. One of them is that I work specifically a lot with chronically mentally ill who commit serious problems, who are aggressive when they are not on their medication, and who unfortunately lack the insight to know that they need the medication. So one of my asks is to ask you as advocates to help me support funding for a new social worker, not in my office, but at the mental health department, to track and monitor those aggressive, violent offenders so that they can be safe so that you can be safe, so that they can be maintained on their medication. We need that resource to assist the probate court. Second, you may ask, okay, what about that pretrial detention time that I mentioned? Well, the CJCC spent a couple of days studying programming that could work better. We already have substance abuse counseling and mental health counseling in the jail, but it touches a fraction of the need. So my second ask is that we need more resources for both DEODIS and local mental health and programs that do cognitive behavioral care like Turning Leaf. My third ask is the big ask. It's not about money, it's about you and your church and your family and your community. We need men and women, volunteers like you, to be involved in ex-offender reentry from prisons. Our prisons are in trouble. The truth is that the resources they have mostly go to maintaining order. And yet, I want to tell you that this is a golden opportunity for faith communities to make an enormous direct difference. Now you may say, gosh, prison sounds scary. The reality is that most people that go to prison on the day they enter are eager to make significant changes in their lives. But they need a method, a pathway. And so they look for someone that can show them the way. In my view, it was always clear from day one that law enforcement and the courts cannot fix our prison challenge. So we need every person of goodwill to tackle this problem. It starts by simply reaffirming the value and importance of every child. We know that some of the folks that come from prison have been suffering from low self-esteem, drug use, isolation, poverty. But we cannot arrest or imprison our way out of this trouble. We must flip the script and let every parent, every child, and every prisoner know that there is, in fact, they have value and a place for them, educationally, economically, socially, and this is done one by one. If we don't do it, we know that 95% come home, ready or not. We all pay for crimes that occur when sentences end and there's no release plan. Today at the expo across the way, His Way Ministry representatives were there. These are ex-offenders who themselves perform this work and are looking for new volunteers. So the summing up, because my time is over, is that I ask you to support funding for that social worker, for those resources in the jail, and to consider getting you and your community engaged in how we can turn our prison system around. And don't forget that we also need to celebrate this collaborative breakthrough that is the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. It's an evidence-based leadership program that is working hard to provide justice for all in Charleston County. Thank you.